When I was younger, I carried with me a quiet but persistent fear of aging. I imagined it as a gradual unraveling, a slow stripping away of everything that made life meaningful. I thought old age meant losing relevance, no longer being useful or remembered. I thought it meant losing independence, becoming dependent on others for even the smallest tasks. Worst of all, I feared losing myself, the parts of my identity that defined who I was. That fear shaped much of how I lived in my earlier years. It pushed me to work harder, run faster, and try to gather as much as I could before time inevitably took it away. But with the passing of years, I began to discover something unexpected. Growing old didn't erase my meaning, it revealed it, not in sudden, dramatic ways, but slowly, gently, in the quiet spaces I had once overlooked. It came through subtle shifts in perspective, through pauses in conversations, through the calm that comes not from weakness, but from understanding. I realized that life was never truly about control. It was about learning how to let go gracefully, and in that release, finding a different kind of strength. I won't pretend that every part of aging has been easy. There are aches that don't go away, mornings that begin with heaviness, and goodbyes that still ache deeply. But even within these difficult moments, there are truths I could never have seen when I was young, distracted, and rushing through life. They did not arrive with fanfare. They whispered quietly until the noise of striving finally faded. And so, aging has not been about losing everything I feared. It has been about uncovering what was always there, the hidden meaning that time reveals only to those patient enough to notice. Last spring, I attended the funeral of a man I once worked with. He was my age, with the same graying temples and the same unsteady steps I now carry. We hadn't been close in years, yet his passing struck me in an unexpected way. As I sat in the back pew of a small Vermont church, listening to stories of his life, a thought settled over me with quiet weight. He didn't make it to where I am now. He didn't live to see this chapter one once dreaded but now cherish. For so long, aging had been painted to me as decline. Society laughs at wrinkles, sells creams to erase them, markets pills to deny time. We treat old age like something to fight, something to apologize for, something shameful. But sitting there in that church, I realized aging is not a punishment, is a privilege. Not everyone gets the chance to grow old. Not everyone is granted the extra years to say I'm sorry, to whisper I love you, or to sit in silence with someone you love. That moment shifted everything. I stopped wincing at birthdays. I stopped wishing away the gray hairs. I stopped seeing slower steps as weakness. Instead, I began to see each morning as a gift, not a guarantee. I began to greet the mirror with a softer acceptance, understanding that every line etched into my face is proof that I've lived a full, complicated, beautiful life. Aging is hard, yes, it comes with losses, with aches, with memory gaps that frustrate, but it is also sacred. It is evidence that I have been here long enough to experience life in all its layers, the grief, the joy, the love, the change, and for that, I am deeply, profoundly grateful. 10 Lessons of Growing Old. With every passing year, I have come to see life less as a race and more as a slow unfolding. Age does not arrive suddenly. It settles in quietly, reshaping how I see the world, how I value each moment, and how I hold the stories of my life. These years have not been free of pain, but they have been rich in wisdom, and I often feel that my truest lessons have been learned not in youth, but in old age. Here are 10 lessons that continue to guide me, reminders not only for myself, but perhaps also for those who walk the path behind me. 1. Gratitude is a lens, not a reaction. When I was younger, gratitude felt like something triggered by fortune, a gift, a success, a happy turn of events. Only then did I feel thankful. But with age, I see gratitude differently. It is not merely a reaction to good things. It is a lens through which the whole of life can be seen. Through this lens, I have learned to notice the blessings woven into even ordinary days, a cup of tea steaming on the table, the rhythm of birdsong outside the window, the softness of a blanket. None of these are extraordinary, yet all of them hold quiet grace. Gratitude does not wait for perfection. It turns the smallest things into enough. 2. Accepting aging as privilege, not burden. So often society frames aging as decline, as though each new line on the face or each ache in the body were proof of loss. But living long enough to grow old is itself a privilege. I have buried friends who never reached this age. I have said goodbye to loved ones taken too soon. Each gray hair, each wrinkle, is a sign that I have been given more time than they had. I no longer see age as a thief but as a teacher. My body slows, yes, but in that slowness I discover perspective. The things that once seemed urgent fade, replaced by a deeper appreciation of life's fleeting beauty. Aging is not a punishment. It is a chance to live with a kind of gratitude that only time can teach. 3. Gratitude and peace are intertwined even in hardship. There are days when pain knocks loudly, when loneliness settles heavy, when the future feels uncertain. Yet I have found that gratitude and peace are companions, even in hardship. To pause and whisper thanks even for something small has the power to soften the edges of difficulty. Once, during a power outage on a freezing winter night, I could have been consumed by frustration. Instead, I wrapped myself in blankets and gave thanks for the warmth they provided, for the candle's small light, for the breath in my lungs. Gratitude did not erase the cold, but it turned the night into something bearable, even meaningful. Peace often arrives through this door. 4. Freedom from the gaze of others. In youth, I lived under the weight of opinion. Approval felt like air, criticism like fire. I dressed, spoke, and acted with the imagined eyes of others always upon me. But age has loosened that grip. Now I live more freely. I wear clothes that comfort me, not those that impress. I speak at my own pace, without apology. I decline invitations when rest feels more honest than attendance. This freedom does not come from indifference, but from the realization that opinions are fleeting, and that authenticity brings more peace than constant performance. To be old is to walk lighter, unburdened by the need to prove. 5. Wisdom nurtures compassion, not judgment. There was a time when I thought wisdom meant having the right answers, being able to correct others or point out their flaws, but true wisdom has humbled me. The longer I live, the more I see how complex every life is, how much pain people carry silently. Wisdom, then, is not about sharpening judgment, but softening it. It is about listening more than speaking, about understanding before correcting. I find myself quicker to forgive, slower to criticize. Each wrinkle on another's face carries a story I cannot fully know, and so compassion, not judgment, is the fruit of years. 6. Value beyond youth. Presence over achievement. In a culture that celebrates speed, beauty, and accomplishment, growing old can feel like fading into invisibility. But I have learned that true value is not measured in records broken or accolades earned. It is measured in presence, in simply showing up with honesty and kindness. My grandchildren do not love me for what I achieve. They love me for sitting with them, for listening to their stories, for making them feel safe. My friends value not my productivity but my presence, the steady companionship of someone who will sit quietly through both laughter and sorrow. Age strips away the illusion that worth is tied to accomplishment. It teaches that being is often more important than doing. 7. Gratitude in silence, in small things. Some of my richest moments now are found in silence. I no longer need constant noise or grand excitement. Instead, I find gratitude in the smallest gestures, the way sunlight warms the wooden floor, the rhythm of my own breathing, the quiet satisfaction of washing dishes. Silence is not emptiness. It is a canvas on which gratitude paints meaning. Each small thing, when noticed, becomes luminous, and in that noticing, peace deepens. 8. Living fully in the present. Youth is often spent in chasing the next milestone, the next possession, the next recognition. I was guilty of this too, always rushing towards some imagined future. But aging has slowed me, teaching me that the present is all I truly have. Now I savor more. I linger over meals instead of rushing through them. I watch the seasons turn with patience instead of yearning for the next. I let conversations stretch without looking at the clock. Living fully in the present means not clinging to what has passed or straining for what has not yet come. It means resting in now and finding enough there. 9. Joy in simplicity and connection. Through story, the grand pursuits of youth, success, wealth, prestige, have lost their glitter. What delights me now are the simple joys, a neighbor bringing soup, the laughter of children in the park, the smell of bread baking. But perhaps the greatest joy comes through stories. Telling my own and listening to others has become a way of weaving connection. When I share my struggles, someone else feels less alone. When I listen, I am reminded that every life carries wisdom. Stories, more than possessions, are the threads that bind us. 10. Gratitude grows naturally with age, perhaps. The most surprising lesson of all is that gratitude grows on its own. I no longer need to force it or keep a list of blessings. It rises, naturally, as though each passing year waters the soil of the heart. My world may have grown smaller, but my gratitude has grown larger. I thank life for another sunrise, for the strength to rise from bed, for the memory of those I have loved and lost. Gratitude is no longer an exercise, is the air I breathe. Closing reflection. These 10 lessons are not rules, but reminders. They are truths whispered by the long passage of time, truths I could not have grasped in the rush of youth. Aging is not simply decline. It is transformation. It is a journey inward, toward gratitude, peace, compassion, and presence. And so I do not fear these years. Instead, I welcome them as teachers. For if aging has taught me anything, it is this, that life, even in its simplest and hardest forms, is still worthy of deep thanks, and that gratitude, above all, is what turns ordinary days into a life well lived. The final message, growing older, is often described as decline, as though it were the fading end of a bright story. Yet I have come to see it differently. Aging is not a falling away but a return to slowness, to gentleness, to peace, and most of all, to oneself. The world has grown smaller for me in some ways. I do not travel as far, nor move as quickly as I once did. My steps are shorter, my days more contained. But what I have lost in speed, I have gained in depth. Gratitude fills the space that ambition once occupied. Where I used to chase distant horizons, I now treasure the quiet beauty that lies close at hand, the warmth of morning light, the kindness of a familiar voice, the steady rhythm of breath. There is something profoundly tender about this stage of life. The urgency that once pressed upon me has softened. I no longer feel compelled to prove or achieve, but simply to be present. In this presence, life becomes both simpler and richer. The smallest blessings, tea in a chipped mug, the rustle of leaves, the laughter of grandchildren grow luminous with meaning. And so I find myself thankful, deeply thankful, for the passage of time. To have lived long enough to reach old age is itself a privilege. It is a gift not given to everyone. My body may be slower, but my heart holds more gratitude than ever before. That gratitude has become its own kind of wealth, a treasure I would not trade. Old age, then, is not an ending. It is a quiet homecoming, a return to the essence of life, to peace, to gratitude, to myself.